Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to another episode of Built By. This week, super excited to have Mark Harari, who is the Vice President at Remodelers Advantage. Mark, thanks so much for joining, man.
Thanks for having me, Matt. How are you?
Good. Hanging in there. Back at home for the holidays here.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting short week, right?
Yeah, for sure. But super excited to have you today. A lot of things to get through. I know that you just released a new book.
Yeah,
Which is a great holiday gift for the remodelers out there.
absolutely. No doubt.
Yeah. So I want to get into that, but I really want to start with it's a very interesting beginning for you in the home improvement industry. So you started like most marketers. You started selling lumber, and then you transitioned into marketing, which typically probably isn't the right path there. But how did you go from on the street selling lumber to finding that marketing was actually your true calling?
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, that's definitely the way marketers should get started. Yeah. So, I went to college like many people. I went to college not having a clue what I wanted to do. I just knew I was supposed to go to college. So I
Mhm.
wasted a ton of money there. And, I'd never really had a major. I technically majored in psychology, and I was taking all kinds of like creative writing courses and art courses and psychology courses. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with all that. I just knew it really interested me.
Mhm.
Then I met my wife to be, and we dated for a while. I proposed, and I still was just kind of waiting tables, not really doing anything, going to college. And she said, you gotta get a real job if you want to marry me. So I got a job at 84 Lumber and started just slinging wood around, loading
There you go.
trucks and that kind of thing. Um, and then I started meeting a lot of remodelers and home builders, especially, and a lot of and contractors and chucking the trucks and all that. And all these guys kept talking about needing leads and needing this, and oh man, it's so tough, and I hate marketing and all that. And I kind of started. It just kind of clicked for me one day. Geez, Louise, what was I thinking? Marketing, psychology, art, writing. It's all my passions, and it's all rolled up into this one discipline. That's what I should have gone to college for. So, too little, too late on that one. But I just started, self teaching. I got books. I bought books. I took classes and courses, and just fell in love with it. I mean, it really was my fit. So then I started a side hustle on marketing while I was at 84 Lumber, and I was kind of helping some of these guys that were coming in, saying, well, if you need some help with this or that, I can hook you up. And that's kind of how it started for me.
Mhm.
And I guess, as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. What myself too, getting into marketing, a lot of marketers like just find themselves falling into marketing by chance, and it is a combination of all those things. You don't really realize that like psychology plays such a major part in marketing because you're really trying to get in the head, trying to figure out where, in the case of home improvement, where homeowners are living and things like that. So it's interesting tying all that stuff together. So you went from 84 Lumber and you joined a construction company, Island Construction, in about 2005.
Yeah, actually, so one of the guy, Mike, a buddy of mine, turned out to be a buddy of mine, kind of wanted to, he was going to go on his own and start a company on his own, and he asked me to join in the venture.
Mm.
And so I was like, yeah, let's go for it. I didn't see any reason not to try it. I'm willing to try anything. So
Yeah, there you go.
I kind of signed on board with him, and we actually launched it. I was the co-owner of it, and my focus was on the marketing side, and he was the sales guy. And early on, we were both also wearing the belts, swinging
Mm.
hammers, and doing that stuff too. And then we started to hire people and all that stuff. So yeah, I got to really get intimate into that side of it. So I was on the supplier side, then I was actually the builder side. And so I saw all aspects of it. It was kind of cool. Of course, the big economic boom or collapse, I should say, that we had was just disastrous, and we were in a bad way. We were like robbing Peter to pay Paul, because we
Yeah.
we had just started a few months before, we had just started a commercial division, like 8 months before, and we were subcontracting for these commercial jobs, and we had tons of money because those jobs, they don't pay you till you're done. And so we were floating that, and everything collapsed, and we started getting these notices in the mail of these companies that we had contracts with that declared bankruptcy, and we were never going to get the money, and it just started this downhill spiral.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what? I think I want to go for marketing full time.
There you go.
Yeah. So we shut that puppy down, and I was off and running on marketing full time.
Yeah, that's some of the most interesting stories come out of those darkest time periods of when everything seems to be going wrong, and then you just like pick something and you run with it. So it's cool to hear that's you just started running with marketing with all that stuff. So it's interesting. Marketing has evolved a lot in the last year. I can't imagine how much it's evolved in the last 15 years, which I can't imagine. But how have you seen, from your perspective, in home improvement marketing, remodeling marketing, things like that? What have you seen to be kind of the biggest shifts in terms of what companies are focusing on, or what they should be focusing on?
You know what they should. Here's the thing, and actually, I'll take a quick step back to the fact that I didn't take any kind of specific marketing in college. Actually, never did end up truly hurting me, because it's so different now than when I was in college. The internet didn't even exist as it is today, So I think the biggest thing that's the biggest shift is the fact that, I mean, look at us right now. I mean, anyone can just start a radio station for all intents and purposes. You can start a publication, you can start blogs, you can for virtually no money whatsoever. A drop in the bucket, you can be your own publisher, you can be your own radio station, you can be a TV producer and go YouTube. I mean, the world is at your fingertips, where just as little as 20 years ago, it would have cost you, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do anything like what we're doing right now, So that's the thing. It's embracing that these technologies are there that you can really take advantage of, and I think not enough remodelers are taking advantage of it.
Right. It's interesting. I talked to David Pollard from Livco on my last episode, and he had mentioned that one thing that he wished he focused on when he was, they had just started. They're only a 10-person company, but he says he would have paid more attention and invested a little bit more in brand building from the get-go. And I know that brand building is a huge aspect for you, and all this stuff about, creating your own content goes into that with the radio and YouTube and things like that. When did you find that brand building was such a big part of what home improvement company should be doing?
Well, pretty much, when did I notice it? I mean, the thing about it is there's so many remodeling companies out there who want to be everything to everybody. They don't want to turn away customers. It's basically like, who's my client? It's anyone in my service area that owns a house. And that's so far from the truth. And that kind of is kin to branding, because you have to establish yourself as a brand that speaks to a very specific target. And if you do that, people think they're reducing the number of leads that are available to them in their market. They're cutting their market in half, or by 80% in some cases. But
right,
they really aren't. If anything, they're becoming really, really special and important to that 30% that they connect with. And so that's the thing. It's the differentiation of, this is who we are. This is why we're different from the other companies. This is why you need to pick us instead of them. Otherwise, all these, so many, they don't worry about their branding. They don't worry about what they stand for or who they're talking to. So what ends up happening is the homeowner's just left with, 3 proposals in front of them, that the only thing that can differentiate you from the other 2 is the price, because you're all the same. You didn't speak to that potential client. They didn't connect with you emotionally, which is really what branding is at its core. It's an emotional connection with someone else. It's your company's personality and connection with other people. So,
right. That it's interesting what we found over this past year as a transition. A lot of people are highlighting that area after the sale, so post sale. So that's when the lead becomes the customer, and creating that relationship is key. And it is such a dark period for a lot of remodeling companies because they just don't have follow up, or they don't have time. I mean, they're managing the project, they're getting the installation teams, they're ordering the supplies and everything. So it sounds like building content can play a major role in that dark period where you can actually help form a longer relationship with the customer.
absolutely, you can the content marketing program can. I like to call it, planting the seeds and growing your very own customers.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of always trying to get the leads today, a good blogging program and putting that content out, you could be nurturing these potential clients that don't even know that they need a remodeling job yet. And in 2 or 3 years, they're going to need one because of some life change. Like the kids are moving out. Oh, time to fix up that kitchen finally,
Yeah.
Or mom's got to move in because dad passed away, unfortunately, and we need a in-law suite in the basement. And so I'm not looking for remodelers right now, but I'm going to need one in 3 or 4 years. And you, Mr. Remodeler, were so smart that you started connecting with this person 3 years ago. So now you're the first name that comes to mind. Good for you. You just got yourself a lead. It's that's the beauty of it. And it costs, again, next to nothing. So you should be taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it's just putting the time in and building the search engine optimization by just addressing everything. And one thing, I think we've talked about this on a previous podcast, but Marcus Sheridan has a great book out, and he talks about coming up with these blog topics. It's not that hard, to listen. It all comes down to listening to what customers are saying or leads are saying when you're on a call with them, and then answering those questions in your blog. So it's it's a great way to find material there. And speaking of books, I do want to touch on your upcoming book, which probably has the best book title I've ever heard. The first time I heard it, it's a great marketing. It's a great marketing tactic, because the first time I read it or I heard it, and I was like, "What is that?" And then it hit me, and I was like, "Oh, it makes so much sense." So, Lobster on a Cheese Plate. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you started this book, what's in it, and why remodelers should be checking this out.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. So, the title, it's really funny because it was a struggle. I had 80% of the book written. I didn't really know what the title was going to be yet. I just had marketing book was kind of my working title, because I just knew that I wanted to get this message out there, that it's out there. I invented probably about 8 to 10% of what's in the book. That's original Mark Harari ideas, just me. But the other 90% is stuff that's out there, and it's been used by companies, marketing agencies for years. I mean, the problem is that you need to read textbooks that are the most painful thing in the world, and you can't even understand it. I mean, one of my first books I read was called Marketing, and it's like a textbook you would have read in grade school, that just this, oh my God, you got to slog through it. And I had to read a couple chapters 3 or 4 times over just to understand it, because full of technical jargon and these phrases like, what is he just trying to sound smart? And fortunately for people, I don't try to sound smart ever. So I just kind of say it like it is. So it's just spoken and in a casual way, and it gets the point across. It's full of exercises, and it takes you through a program. It's hopefully very practical. You're going to be able to download worksheets to work through it if you want. Along with it, some people rather read the whole book and then go back and do the work, but it's to get really differentiate yourself. The subhead is how to stand out, attract the best clients, and win every sale that comes your way. And that's really the goal of it. I came up with the title. Sorry about the cough there.
Mm-hmm.
the title. Well, I'm kind of a movie buff too. There's many movie references throughout the book, and I just can't help myself. I got to drop them in there.
Awesome.
But so the title's really a MacGuffin. Are you familiar with the term?
I'm not actually.
Okay, well, so a MacGuffin is a plot device in many films that really just get the action going, but has nothing to do with the story. So, The Big Lebowski, you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the dude's rug is a plot device. It's a MacGuffin.
Okay.
It
Gotcha.
doesn't matter. The story is about him and all his misadventures and everything else, and the rug is just what got him started on this journey. The guy's peeing on the rug, right? Or Pulp Fiction, the briefcase that everybody's kind of moving around. It has nothing to do with the briefcase, really. So I went that route, and Lobster on a Cheese Plate's my hero's MacGuffin, right? It's that goal. It's what got the story going. If you're gonna stand out, I pretty much say, look, I love cheese. I eat cheese. Cheese plates, it's like, forget about it for me. I'm gonna go to town when there's a cheese plate in front of me, okay? And to me, they're all really good choices. It's just, what do I want? I don't know. What am I in the mood for today? And it's going to just depend. I might try a little bit of everything. But, if you put a lobster on there, there's only one obvious choice. I got to eat the lobster first. I'm going to eat the lobster. That's the obvious choice. So really, that's kind of what the title means. It's getting you to be the obvious choice at the onset. As soon as the homeowner sees you, they know you're that lobster on the cheese plate. I don't have another choice. It doesn't matter what other cheeses are on the plate. I'm going with you. So there you go.
No, that's awesome. You mentioned all this high tech jargon. I just realized earlier I said search engine optimization, which is, I don't think I've ever used that term in a regular conversation, but SEO. A lot of these things aren't laid out specifically for home improvement professionals or remodelers or people getting into the industry. It can be so overwhelming, really. So it sounds like what you've done is taken a lot of the stuff and actually translated it specifically for remodelers and home improvement pros.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so I mentioned I didn't make it specific. I mean, it really works for any service market. I use remodeling for the most part because that's my niche and the world I'm used to. I use a fictional company throughout, Fluffy Decks, as kind of an example that we go through. So, and I have a lot of real life examples, and most of them have to do with remodeling. There's some real estate because my wife's a realtor, so I know some of those stories too. But for the most part, at the end of the day, you're a small business owner, you're a remodeler, you don't have the time or the wherewithal to do all this stuff. So you gotta have somebody that it just kind of spells it out to you in just a casual, everyday way. This is, look, here's how it is. And if you like movies, then hopefully it'll be even easier to read because there's a lot of subtle and not so subtle references in there that I just dropped in throughout because this is the way I talk and I write the way I talk, just kind of loosey-goosey, and here's how to do it. Let's get it done.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, actually. In addition to that, so in the book, you cover things like brand building, and I'm sure you cover, various, other higher level ideas. What would be the first things you would pick out that someone could learn from this book?
Yeah, so the book really is broken into 5 parts. We're gonna start really briefly. We're gonna just talk about some market research and how to do it because that's definitely like witchcraft voodoo to most people, but it's not that hard, especially again, like because of technology, you don't need to hire this big agency to do it for you. You can do it yourself pretty quickly and easily. And I tell you how to do that really quickly and easily, but you need to have that. You can't make good sound business decisions without the facts. So, you touch on that. In section 2, we talk about positioning your brand so that you speak to the right target and you become that obvious choice to them. And then I get into the messaging and finding the lobster lovers, finding the people that are going to love you. Because it's not like if you build it, they will come. You got to do a little bit more than that. So we get into messaging and copywriting a little bit, and I give you a crash course on how to write copy. And then there's the fun part. As I say, it's the tactics, and probably the biggest thing that I think people get out of it is building the strategic marketing plan, because that's the number one biggest mistake I see. So I've got a whole chapter on how to set up your strategic marketing plan for the year. So many, not just remodelers, small businesses in general. I think the last estimate I saw was 90% of small to medium-sized businesses work off of a budget as their plan. And, a budget isn't a marketing plan. It's just a list of tactics with dollar amounts attached to it. That's not a plan. You're not going to win a war with just a list saying, bullets, $16,000, I mean, it just doesn't work. You would never do that. So you need a tactical plan, a strategic plan, and we work through that so that you'll have that plan for the year. I think Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. So, you got to know where you're going. So that's what the plan's for.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I can definitely tell it's going to be full of quotes from the if you build it, they will come quote, and the Yogi Berra quote.
Right,
that's awesome.
Right, yeah.
That's awesome. Mark, that's all I had today. I know we didn't really touch on Remodelers Advantage, but if you want to take a few seconds just to talk about how RA is really helping, the remodeling industry and things like that, as where people can connect with you, where they can find the book, things like that.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well, so again, I'm Vice President of Remodelers Advantage. So Remodelers Advantage is a international consulting agency. We have consultants that help specifically the remodeling industry. We also have a membership base. Our Roundtables program is a peer-to-peer advisory program. We have over 300 members, and they're all across the U.S. and Canada. And it's just a great program. I mean, there's nothing more powerful than having a board of advisors, personal advisors that work with you, other remodelers in the same boat as you, listening to your problems. They have the same problems as you, and you all work together to get through them. It's a powerful, powerful thing. So if you ever feel like you're alone on that, you should definitely check out remodelersadvantage.com and look into the Roundtables program. And my book is available for pre-order now. It comes out December 8th. And so that's just on Amazon. You're going to want to, if you're going to do a search, go to Lobster on a Cheese Plate book, because if you don't, you might get a lot of recipes. But don't buy the recipe book, buy the marketing book.
Right. That's awesome. And so if anybody wants to connect with you, I know that there's also a bodybuilder under the same name, so they should find you on LinkedIn probably.
That's right. Yeah. Look for me on LinkedIn, search for me on LinkedIn, and you'll find me. If you Google me, you're going to be, I look a lot like that guy if you squint really hard. If you really, really squint hard, that's what I look like, but otherwise not so much. Yeah, and actually the book itself has a page. I'm just finished putting it up. It's still a little bit under construction, but it's live. It's bethelobster.com.
Awesome. I'll be sure to drop the links in the YouTube description and stuff. So Mark, thanks so much, man, for taking the time out of your day today and chatting with me. I'm excited about the book, and it should be a great thing for the industry.
Thanks, Matt. It was a lot of fun being here.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Cool, you too.